idea of like, if you're healthy or not, you'd still love to do training no matter what. If you had, but we'll not talk at it. We'll save the serious note. Like, obviously, Roman and I were joking before I started recording about like, if you had 2 years to live, I mean, would you still be lifting 4 to 5 to 6 days a week? And he goes, yeah. And I watched. Someone sent me a clip today of like, what's his name? The two brothers that are Logan Paul. The Paul
Oh,
brother.
yep.
Yeah, he had I guess he has a podcast, and Arnold was on it. Which, I mean, come on, Arnold. If you're gonna go on a podcast, go on the Gainz podcast. Logan Paul and his brother, they both probably are on the juice. They probably have billions of dollars. They don't need the attention. They don't. If anything, we need to give less attention to them. But besides that fact is he like Logan Paul like asked the stupidest question, and one of my buddies sent me like the clip of it, like a 15-second clip. He goes, Arnold, why do you still train now? And then, like, to the person who made like bodybuilding the way it is, he asked Arnold, why do you still train at like your age, pretty much? And then Arnold goes, well, did you eat breakfast yesterday? And then he goes, yes. He goes, I ate breakfast yesterday, so I trained yesterday. If I'm training 10 years ago, why am I not training now? If I'm eating breakfast 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or am I brushing my teeth or, working 10, 20 years ago, why wouldn't I be training? It's like, and then he goes, I live for the pump. He goes, I live for training, and training just my lifestyle. He goes, I don't think of it like that. And it's funny because he did bring up something that probably like Roman and I probably share too. It's like, we don't think about training the way people probably intend to think about training. It's like going to the bathroom. It's like eating your meals. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like second nature to the point where you find yourself. Well, and it also caters to like the idea of this episode too. Like it's like to the point where we don't think about it too much. Like, obviously we have goals, and we have like goals every year. We make sure we do things different. Like, you don't have goals for brushing your teeth. You're like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth 5 times in a day, 6 times in a day. Like, you don't do stuff like that, but like it's up to the point where it's like we wouldn't ever live a different lifestyle where training wasn't a part of our weekly average or our weekly days and, our daily routines. So isn't that crazy that he'd ask that question, Robert? Like, am I only thinking that? Am I the only one thinking that?
No, it's a good question to ask, I think, because I think it's important for people to hear the answer, because there's probably many people that are in Arnold's age group that think, like, I can't tell you how many times I have customers tell me, they're like, oh, I'm over 40, I'm over 50. Like,
I'm too old. I'm too old.
I can't be doing what you're doing. I'm like, I don't know. Have you ever heard of Stan Afferday?
I mean, dude, the other day, so I was doing farmer carries, and I do farmer carries on Sunday, and like, we've talked about it on the like this podcast all the time is, once you go to the gym, like, these people with headphones on, they are still approachable. Like, so I have the new headphones I was telling you, like, I can hear out of my ears. It's the bone conduction headphones. So even if I have music on, I can have like a regular conversation with someone. Obviously, I try to pause it because that's like hard to pay attention to 2 things at once. Yeah. But on Sunday, and this guy I see quite a bit. He's like 60s, 70s year old, and I see him quite a bit, and I was doing farmer carries, and Sunday was my last like deload day for the next week, because I think on the last episode I mentioned I deloaded from donating blood, and so I was only doing 315 pounds on farmer carries. And mind you, this guy sees me probably every Sunday. Like I said, he's 67 years old, and I've always noticed him, and I've always seen him there because I love what he does at his age. He does a lot of reverse sled pulling, and so one day, or last Sunday, I was taking my weight off, and we're in the same like turf area, and he was asking me, he's like, hey, are you using the sled by any chance? And I was like, no, I'm all done. Like, I did the sled already, and the farmer carries, which was the hack squat bar. And and I'm like, no, but like, no, go ahead, like, but I've seen you do these backward sled pulls. Like, I'm so like so happy to see people doing that because I feel like it's such a nice safe haven and such a nice warm up, cool down, and health like positioning where you could put yourself into. And he told me he got both of his knees replaced, and he goes, I'm like, oh, how does this like make you feel? And your replaced knees. And he goes, amazing. He goes, the only thing is, he goes, the only thing is, I wish I did this 30, 40 years ago. And I keep telling, and like, I know it's like a newer technology for like people to see with like, knees over toe, and like the backward pulling and the sled work and all that. But him just saying that, and he literally has both knees replaced. He said, "Man, it's like night and day after doing these backward sled pulls." He says he does like 10 sets. He does like, two plates with a lip. Yeah, yeah, he does 10 sets like 4 days a week, 3 days a week. He says he doesn't do them every session. And he puts on like two plates and like two tens and maybe like a five. So maybe an extra 100 pounds to the sled, and the sled probably weighs like 40 to 50 pounds. And then, but yeah, he told me, and he goes, I tell him, I don't know how old his son is, but, um, he told me like, he goes, you're freaking jacked, man. Like you're freaking, he said effing monster to me, but I'm going to try to keep a PG on the podcast. But he told me like, he tries to tell his son to do things more like this so you don't have to end up like me. And I thought that was such a powerful thing, back to the point where like, why do you train like every other day or every day of the week? And it's just so crazy because it's like, him telling me that, and he goes to the gym all the time. I see him literally all the time, 4 or 5 days a week, depending on what time I go. We see him like all the time. So I just like, appreciate that, and also like, man, like kudos to that guy for never giving up, especially getting your knees fully reconstructed. Like, cause I've never had that done to me, and I don't know how it feels, but I'm gonna tell you this, it probably doesn't feel good.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to see. So Laura's dad had one of his knees, like, I don't know if it was like a full reconstruction, like what specifically, but like it was a pretty intensive surgery, like so much so that they had to like, he had to get put in like this device that like straps to your leg, like the bottom part of your quad and like the upper part of your calf, and you just like slightly adjust it and it changes the angle of flexion of the knee. And like over the course of like several weeks, he had to just like painfully just change like the degree, just the, like 1 degree, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, whatever, and it was like excruciating. And like at first, like once he was like starting to get like range of motion back in the knee joint, like it was painful for him to just like walk to the end of the driveway and back. But then he like built up over time to be able to walk around the neighborhood, and like he couldn't even walk around without like being in pain beforehand. And now he's like, I think what the other knee still kind of bothers him a little bit, but like for the most part, like the knee that got like redone, like he's totally like good.
You should get him one of those sleds for to pull backwards.
Yeah.
I was, like I was talking to some of my other friends that have like houses and whatnot, and like obviously like a garage gym or basement gym is like something that like we all dream about, because like essentially like, to save more time to, be able to work, have a family, all that good stuff, is to save some time not like commuting to a gym. And every time we're like, who wants to pitch it to with one of those like weighted sleds that have like the resistance where you don't have to add plates to it? We're like, who wants to invest in it? And like we could just like go to each other's house and just like, pull the sled like every other day or so. Good. But yeah, I mean, I could only imagine like how that feels, but like, it's like that shouldn't stop like what you are and who you want to be, because the fact that like I just, like Roman was stating earlier, like I just know too many people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're just like too old. I'm too old. It's just I've already done so much. Like, why do I need to do this? And it just like makes me upset because it's like if I ever get to that point, like I really hope for the people who care about me, like slap me silly. So like I'll keep that to my blood. So Roman, if you ever see me act like that, you slap me silly a little bit before I could see clear instead of sitting in the daze. Because I was telling Sam the other day, we're getting to that point as adults, like so I just turned 28, and we're getting to the point where when we're meeting people, like it's kind of hard to guess people's ages pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you kind of figure they're around the same age. They're like they have a career, they're married or they're not married, they're dating, but they have a place together. They might have a kid, not have a kid, and like the other day we were hanging out with like two other couples, and Sam and I were the oldest couple, and like I had like an epiphany afterwards, and we're walking the dog, and I told Sam, I'm like, what's crazy? Like, I don't know if it's gonna ever hit me, but I still feel younger than all those people. I don't see myself, because you know why? Maybe it's because I do so much, and like I feel like I do more than the average 28-year-old person. And I think like I don't know if that's probably a good thing or a bad thing, but like I don't see myself as an older person because the fact that I feel like nothing slows me down. Like I feel like I'm a machine when it comes to that stuff, and I feel like it's just so weird to feel that way, but I think it's a good thing because I feel like it might help me be able to sustain like my physical health, because like obviously I'll probably go into it, but like I just ran 10 miles yesterday. So I hit another PR. Obviously, I'm going for like a PR like every week, but I'm almost halfway there to the marathon status, and like I can only imagine like the people that I've known in my life that are older than me. I'm not going to name names, but like people that are 28 and they're like, man, I really wish I could run like I was back in high school when I was on cross country or track. And man, I wish I could, work out for an hour without getting tired. Like the other day, like even me trying to do RPE 9 or 10, like I was barely sweating. Like obviously I was getting like kind of fatigued, but like obviously I'm a little bit leaner than I usually am, and body fat has a play with like being able to sweat and all that. But like I was even like sweating in the gym, and I'm like, man, like I know it's so weird because like you have this misconception that like you should be slowing down, and like me putting miles on miles on miles every week, like I like after the 10 miles, like I laughed. I'm like, this is like this is like pretty easy. This is not that hard. And it's all like a mental game and like what you do with your body, because like today's Thursday, and yes, I have soreness in my knees a little bit, soreness in my foot, but it's like to the point where it's like I've been working out so long. Talk about like deadlifting 500 pounds and tell me how your body feels compared to like running and feeling it in your knees and your feet. And it clears it within a day or two. It's like nothing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome, buddy.
And I don't know. I've rambled on a little bit, Roman, but let's hear what you got to say, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, it's really good. And that's a testament to where your aerobic health is right now, that like you're so aerobically fit that you'll have like a hard set and you'll be like, yeah, like it was hard, but whatever. And you're aerobically recovered like that.
Yeah, and I also figured out too, I could share it on here. I didn't text you about it, but yesterday when you get a blood donation, we kind of talked about it at the end of the last episode, where they kind of give you like health spectrums and stuff, and like it's pretty cool. It's like kind of like a free checkup instead of going to the doctor. Obviously, doctors probably will do a little bit more if they're doing a checkup, but I did get notes or results that I do have antibodies for COVID. So I guess that means I might have had it, or I grew antibodies, but I didn't have symptoms. But I never tested for COVID, never. So I couldn't tell you if I had it or not. I'm against like a bunch of this stuff. So I think it's a conspiracy, but I mean, think about it. 2 years and you're not wearing a mask on a flight anymore, but I'm not going to get into that. But now, I mean, now I have results now. I have antibodies for COVID, so which is a good thing, maybe.
Nice. I think you still do have to wear a mask on flights.
No, they just lifted it, buddy.
I don't think so. I was on a flight.
No, they just lifted it like Tuesday or Wednesday. They like recently.
As of Monday. And then I was also seeing notifications that the CDC said that for mass transport that they still recommend mask wearing. Maybe airliners are taking off. I would say. Yeah,
someone posted on Instagram. One of the girls I went to high school with posted on Instagram that they like announced it literally Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So you might have been on like one of the last flights that had like a mandate on it.
It's possible. What I'd say is before YouTube cancels us, check the CDC website before you take any of our advice in regards to COVID.
Yeah, please check it and read the guidelines. That's all I got to say. Like, you know, what they say, don't go full bore. Just read it first, then go full bore. How about that? For informational purposes, right, Roman?
It's so funny. Gainz podcast is gonna get canceled.
No, it's fine. We just said go to the CDC website. You're fine. I mean, if they cancel us for that, that'd be pretty bad because we just literally said like. But yeah, I mean, also next week I'll be taking a flight, so I guess we could update you on that. Yeah. So I guess we could update it because I'll be taking one next Thursday. So. Oh, man. But Roman. So quick question. Since we talked about it before the podcast, why don't we get an update on you, buddy, on about the hernia status and everything? If you want to do a quick update. Sorry, I don't know why that word like that's okay.
Let's screen cap that. Throw that on IG.
I probably yeah. I'll probably throw that. I don't even know why I said that, but quick update, Roman, on your update for your health.
Yeah. So I talked to a surgeon on Monday of this past week. So I went in, saw a surgeon. He did some like more tests on me. He didn't do an ultrasound, and I'm kind of kicking myself. I wish I pushed for an ultrasound because I want to know if there's like anything else that's like kind of messed up in the area. Like if there is like an abdominal tear as well as like a hernia. Cause like it seems like where he pinpointed it out, it's like the upper groin area. But I'm curious if there's something going on in the lower left, like abdominal area, as well as like in the upper groin region. So that's probably going to be something that I push for and like a second consultation with a different surgeon. But yeah, I mean, it was just like a super quick test, you know, he just like dropped the pants, cough, and then he tests the other side, cough. He's like, yeah, you hernia. He's like, put the hand here, cough. You feel that? I'm like, yeah, I feel that. So he's like, okay, that's like, you know, an organ pushing out, but it might not be an organ. It could be an organ pressing against the abdominal wall. So it's not quite like accurate to say. And that's why that's why I should have pushed for an ultrasound. So I'd say my advice is if you go in for something like this, write down all your questions on a piece of paper or on your phone in like your notes app, and don't leave the office until all your questions are answered and satisfied.
You know what's funny? You say that. I always forget to do that, and like I'll leave, and then the question pops in my head. I'm like, God damn it! Like what? Like some of the stuff. It's like I wish like even results, because like my brother's a doctor and I want to like keep him and then like talk to him about him and like see like, oh, like, hey, here's my health stats, you know, blah blah blah. But like it's like, God damn it, why did I do that? Yeah. But keep going.
So yeah, that's discouraging. I've definitely like I've, despite like losing like a little bit of weight, I've like lost size too, like just everywhere, because I'm not able to train as hard, and like I haven't been training as often, admittedly, as well. And that's mostly been intentional. Just been doing like a lot of walking and stuff to keep up like my cardio health as much as possible. But the surgeon did say he like quote unquote cleared me to like still do the Tough Mudder in June. So I mean, even before that, I started jogging like this past weekend. I started with like 3/4 of a mile at I think like 4.5 miles per hour, and it felt like totally fine. And I did it for just like 10 minutes, and I was like, sweet, like this is pretty cool. Okay, if I can do this and this works. And then the next day, I bumped it up to I think 1.5 miles, and there was like a little bit of pain that crept in at like minute 11. I just ran for 15 minutes, and I was like, okay, that's tolerable. And then yesterday I ran 2 miles, and there's like a little bit of pain that crept in around like 13 minutes, totally like doable, and took me like 24 minutes to run 2 miles. So slow, super slow for me.
Is there any like negatives to keep like holding us off? Like, can you make things worse by any chance? Did you ask that question?
I didn't, but I absolutely could. Yeah. So that's why I would say this is something that works for me. It might not necessarily work for you. I would say definitely talk to your doctor about this, because this can be really severe. For me, it's not. It's probably like a very small tear. Although I wish I had an ultrasound to confirm, like, all right, it's 2 millimeters, whatever. It's like, okay, that's minuscule. So I'm kicking myself for not pushing for that to get better diagnostics on the problem itself and the problem area. But yeah, it is what it is. I missed that window of opportunity. I'm gonna talk to another surgeon probably when I go back to Massachusetts in May. The surgeon fixed my first hernia when I was 9, or my second hernia. So this would technically be my third. So I would say,
how old is this doctor, Roman?
Dr. Brake is like probably late 50s, early 60s, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Super old. I think he was like wicked young. He was probably like in his early 30s when he first operated on me when I was 9. But I don't know who did my surgery when I was like 9 months old. Not him, I don't think, because I was still in, I think, Norwood, Massachusetts, but I might have been in Virginia at the time. So yeah, that's discouraging, but I'm happy that I've been able to like start jogging again and like getting back into like my training, albeit like very slow and controlled and easy does it. But yeah, definitely if you have a hernia or some sort of like abdominal tear, don't just get like right into training, because especially if you train hard, in general, you're gonna create some degree of like intra-abdominal pressure, or IAP, and that could further exacerbate the issue. If it doesn't like cause like further tearing, it could at least like cause like severe discomfort for like inflammation to the area.
Now, do you expect to just like kind of jog the Tough Mudder then instead of just like run it all out?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was I was watching a video today, and like this is probably how like Joe and like our like group of peeps are gonna run it. Like you do jog, but then like you kind of come up on the obstacle, and then
you walk.
You almost like stop, yeah, and then you like assess it, like however like challenging it is. You climb over something, jump over, crawl under, like crawl in mud or water or whatever.
Yeah, because when we were at the Warrior Dash, which actually I'm wearing it. I'm wearing the shirt that I got from it when I ran it. But pretty much like we jogged, and because like there was like 9 or 10 obstacles, and it was probably easier than a Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder I think is a little bit harder, but we got to like the obstacle, and like the people who were running all out, like there was like a line to get to some obstacle. So like you're not like blitzing at an obstacle and just like running full force. Like there's a point where it's like, hey, like, maybe we shouldn't all have everyone jump on one single rope and try to get across like this body of water of mud. So
exactly. Yeah, so there'll definitely be starting and stopping, and people kind of standing in line to like yeah, exactly, to do that kind of stuff, to do like the obstacles. So yeah, it's that's how it'll be.
Yeah, and that's like a good point back to like the intro question that we had about like Arnold being on that podcast, but like it Roman goes to the point where like he doesn't take training off the table just because he's got an upset area. We'll just say like maybe that obviously there's like quite of a little bit of an injury, but there's to the point where it's like, hey, Roman's still trying his tail off to be able to do as much as he can and to get things done. Obviously, he's already seeked some help, and he'll seek more help, obviously, like you were saying. But there is no shame on trying to do as much as you can. And I think that's what people got to look past, too, because it's like, just because you're not the fastest person, the strongest person, doesn't mean you shouldn't show up. Like, I mean, I ran a 9 minute and 42-second pace on 10 miles. So to some people, that's really good. Some people, it's like really bad. Like a Roman and I's, one of our buddies that's a runner, he just sent a picture, or well, he put it on Instagram, and I think he ran like 4 or 5 miles at like a 7 minute and 50-second pace. Like, golly, like holy cow! Like if I can run that, that'd be nice. But is it feasible for like what I'm trying to do, just to make it past the marathon? Probably not. But like that, like just because mine's almost 2 minutes higher than his, like literally almost 2 minutes higher than his pace, which is a lot of time. If you think about like competitive racing, I still show up. Like there's no point in not showing up. Like I told Roman at the beginning, like I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to get 10 or under minute paces. But like once I get to like 14, 15 miles, like there might be days where I'm probably gonna be 11-minute pace, and I'm not afraid of it either, because you know what? I'm there to do the miles and not to give up. Like this past 10-mile run, I didn't stop at all. The only time I stopped was to use the bathroom, and I paused my workout, and then I resumed it. But like that's the only time I stopped. I used the public restroom, and that's it. I didn't stop whatsoever. So I think the goal of mine is just trying not to stop as much as possible. I think that's a lot harder to do, especially with 26 miles. But like, that's like one of the goals I want to do too, is like, because I know for a fact, because I used to play basketball, and I know for a fact when I was tired, if I stopped, I wouldn't want to keep going. It's just been like something about me being like the athletic side of myself. Like if I stop and I sit there for 5-10 minutes and then I go, it's a lot harder than just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And like it doesn't matter if you get up to like 11 or 12 minutes, like for mile 14, 15, and 16 on a 60-mile run. Like at that point you have a baseline, and then it's just like you try to just do a little bit more, and like you can use do you use heart rate monitors at all? Do you check like your Apple Watch when you're running?
Yeah, I don't check the heart rate as much, which I probably should. But like for this one, my average heart rate was 171 beats per minute, and like I'm trying to look at my max. Does it show you the max? I think maybe 181 was my max.
Wow.
So 220 minus my age, which is what, 100 and yeah, 192. So I was like 11 away from max heart rate.
Yeah, that's beast. No, you're definitely anaerobic. But that's good. That means that demonstrates that you're really pushing it. And my guess is like as you continue like your training, your like heart rate's gonna end up dropping at that same like mile time, and you can push a little bit harder. You can push a little bit harder and push a little bit harder and take the foot off the gas, allow yourself to recover, and then push a little harder and push a little harder.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that and just kind of go from there. But yeah, I mean, that's the goal. But what we wanted to kind of just go over with this episode is like, why do you train? Why do you want to train? And some of the important ways to go. So just keep it that way. If you guys need help with trying to like get some motivation, or if you need some help like starting, let us know. We're always free to answer those questions. message us on Instagram, probably be the best way to handle it. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to Antoine's channel, myself, and then Roman's channel. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.